Did you know that a recent study shows that some Nepalis carry genes from humans who lived over 50,000 years ago, including traces of the mysterious Denisovans, an extinct human species? These ancient genetic fragments still play a crucial role today, helping Sherpas survive at extreme altitudes on Mount Everest, where oxygen levels are dangerously low, making it next to impossible for an average human to breathe there. But that's just the beginning. Nepali DNA is a unique blend of South Asian, Tibetan, and Central Asian ancestry, making it one of the most complex and fascinating genetic stories in the world. Firstly, Nepal isn't just a country, it's a living genetic museum. Situated between the Indian subcontinent and the Tibetan plateau, it has been a crossroads of human migration for thousands of years. From the steamy lowland Terai to the death zone peaks of the Himalayas, the genetic makeup of Nepali people reflects a tapestry woven from ancient migrations, evolutionary adaptations, and cultural interactions that span continents. The numbers tell an incredible story. Scientists analyzed mtDNA sequences of 999 Nepalese and compared data with 38,622 published mtDNA sequences from around the world. What they discovered rewrites everything we thought we knew about human settlement in the Himalayas. The results showed that Sherpas have 94.3% East Asian ancestry in their DNA, Magars have 54%, and Newars have 51%. But these numbers only scratch the surface of Nepal's genetic complexity. Each ethnic group tells a different chapter in humanity's greatest migration story. The story begins approximately 8,000 years ago, when the first great wave of human migration changed the Himalayas forever. The Himalayan mountain range has played a dual role in shaping the genetic landscape of the region by 1. Delineating east-west migrations, including the Silk Road, and 2. Restricting human dispersals, especially from the Indian subcontinent into the Tibetan plateau. Tibeto-Burman-speaking populations migrated into the Himalayan region from Tibet during the Neolithic period. This wasn't just a cultural movement, it was a genetic revolution. These early settlers introduced East Asian genetic markers into the Nepali gene pool, laying the foundation for many of the highland populations we see today. The vast majority of the Nepalese populations studied associated most closely with the Tibeto-Burman Indians located in northeast India. This connection reveals an ancient network of related people stretching from the Himalayas to the hills of northeast India, all carrying genetic echoes of that original Tibetan migration. But the genetic story gets more complex. Except for high-altitude Sherpa population of Nepal, most of the Tibeto-Burman-speaking communities of Nepal harbor significant genetic contributions from Tibet, Myanmar, and South Asia, showing shared ancestry with the populations from southeast Tibet, northeast India. This means that while Sherpas remained genetically isolated at high altitude, other Nepali groups continued to mix with populations across a vast geographic network. Among Nepal's diverse populations, the Sherpas represent something unprecedented in human evolution, a population that has been genetically optimized for survival in one of Earth's most hostile environments. Sherpas, a Highlander population living in Khumbu region of Nepal, are well known for their superior climbing ability in Himalayas. However, the genetic basis of their adaptation to high-altitude environments has only recently been decoded by scientists. The key lies in their genes. Genomic studies have identified robust signals of positive selection across EPAS1, EGLN1, and PPARA that are associated with hemoglobin levels, which likely protect the Sherpa from altitude sickness. These aren't random genetic changes. They represent millions of years of evolutionary fine-tuning that allows Sherpas to function normally where other humans would quickly die. But here's the truly mind-bending part. These genetic adaptations aren't purely human in origin. The story takes us back 40,000 years to a time when multiple human species walked the Earth. Recent archaeological discoveries suggest that both archaic Denisovans and Homo sapiens occupied the Tibetan plateau earlier than expected. Genetic studies show that a pulse of Denisovan introgression was involved in the adaptation of Tibetan populations to high-altitude hypoxia. Denisovans were an archaic human species, cousins to Neanderthals who lived across Asia. When early modern humans encountered them, they didn't just coexist, they interbred. The team confirmed that the Tibetans inherited the entire gene from Denisovans in the past 40,000 years or so, or from an even earlier ancestor that carried that DNA and passed it on to both Denisovans and modern humans. This means that every time a Sherpa summits Everest without supplemental oxygen, they're using genetic technology inherited from an extinct human species. The high-altitude superpowers that make headlines around the world are actually 40,000-year-old genetic innovations, preserved in the DNA of Himalayan peoples. High-altitude adaptation in Tibetans is influenced by introgression of a 32.7 kilobase pair haplotype from the Denisovans, an extinct branch of archaic humans lying within the endothelial system genes. This specific genetic region controls how blood vessels respond to low oxygen, exactly what you need to survive at 29,000 feet. But Nepal's genetic story isn't just about high-altitude adaptation. The country's rugged terrain created a complex mosaic of isolated populations, each preserving unique genetic signatures that tell different parts of humanity's story. The genetic diversity is staggering. The Newar appeared as the most admixed Nepalese ethnic group, with similar proportions of Tibetan and ANI ancestry. The Rai, Magar, and Tamang showed 92%, 82%, and varying levels of different ancestral components, revealing how geography and culture shaped genetic inheritance. The Newar people of the Kathmandu Valley present a particularly fascinating case. Analysis of paternal ancestry among Newars has revealed 8 lineages, 1 from Europe, 2 from Middle East, J1 and J2, Chinese, O3 not Mongolian as such, 2 Indian, R2, H, 1 Aryan, Russian, R1A, and 1 from Europe. This incredible genetic diversity reflects the Kathmandu Valley's historical role as a trading hub where merchants, pilgrims, and travelers from across Asia left their genetic mark. Meanwhile, populations in the highlands developed their own genetic signatures. Exploration of their genomic relationships with Southeast Asian populations provided evidence for Tibetan admixture with low-altitude East Asians and for Sherpa isolation. The Sherpas, protected by extreme altitude and geographic barriers, maintained their distinct genetic profile, while other groups continued to mix with neighboring populations. The Tharu people of the Terai lowlands represent yet another genetic story. Living in the malaria-prone southern plains, they developed their own set of genetic adaptations different from their high-altitude neighbors. Their genetic markers reflect long-standing presence in the lowlands and connections to South Asian populations. Recent breakthroughs in ancient DNA technology have opened new windows into Nepal's genetic past. Scientists report genome-wide data of 33 ancient individuals from the Himalayas, illuminating the deep genetic history of Tibetans and other Tibeto-Burman-speaking populations around the Tibetan Plateau in fine resolution. These ancient genomes reveal that the genetic patterns we see in modern Nepal have deep roots. The same populations that live in specific regions today can trace their ancestry back thousands of years to the same areas. This genetic continuity is remarkable given the region's history of trade, conquest, and cultural change. One of the most surprising discoveries is what scientists call the Sherpa paradox. The study identified a common ancestral component shared between these two high-altitude populations, which was absent from lowland South or Central Asian populations. This means that Sherpas and Tibetans share genetic components that don't exist anywhere else, a genetic signature of high-altitude adaptation that evolved in isolation. But here's the paradox. While Sherpas are genetically closest to Tibetans, their specific adaptations represent an independent evolutionary solution to the same environmental challenge. Both populations inherited Denisovan genes for high-altitude survival, but they've been isolated long enough to develop their own unique genetic signatures. This genetic isolation has preserved not just Denisovan DNA, but entire suites of genes that have been lost in other populations. The genetic diversity of Nepal reflects something larger than individual populations. It reveals the ancient network of human connections that spanned Asia. Modern Nepal's incredible cultural diversity, with over 100 different ethnic groups speaking dozens of languages, reflects this deep genetic diversity. Understanding Nepal's genetic heritage isn't just about the past, it has profound implications for the present and future. The same genetic variants that help Sherpas climb Everest also influence how different populations respond to modern medical treatments, environmental changes, and disease patterns. The Denisovan genes that provide high-altitude adaptation might also influence immune function, metabolism, and other physiological processes. As Nepal modernizes and populations become more mobile, these ancient genetic adaptations continue to play roles in people's lives in ways we're only beginning to understand. Climate change and modernization are also creating new evolutionary pressures. As traditional lifestyles change and populations move between different altitudes and environments, the genetic adaptations that served communities for thousands of years may become advantages or disadvantages in new contexts. Today, Nepali genes carry these ancient stories to every corner of the globe. The global Nepali diaspora, from the tea gardens of Darjeeling to the apartments of New York, carries forward genetic legacies that span continents and millennia. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the genetic history of Nepal. If you enjoyed this video, do like and subscribe to our channel for more videos on the fascinating origins of human populations.